Hello and welcome to IP Study video lectures. Today we will discuss chapter 4 of grade 7. The chapter name is New Beginnings, Cities and States. In this chapter we will cover these topics: second urbanization of India, Janapadas, from Janapadas to Mahajanapadas, early governance, monarchies versus republics, administration of Mahajanapadas, innovation during the Mahajanapada period, Varna Jati system and developments elsewhere in India. First, we will discuss that second urbanization of India. For several, as you already know, that first urbanization of India was Harappan civilization. It was advanced and very civilized in terms of drainage system, in terms of their development, in terms of their, you can say, art and architecture. But for several centuries after the fall of Harappan cities, India saw few large urban centers. However, this period was far from static. People lived close to nature, farmed the land, developed strong regional identities. Around the end of second millennium BCE, a new phase of urban growth. That is known as second urbanization. This era marked the rise of new cities in the east, which became hub of trade, religion and learning. Along this early political territories called Janapadas. So first we will understand that the main sources from which we got to know about the history. First one is archaeological excavation and ancient literature. In archaeological excavation, archaeologists have dug up ancient ruins like buildings, tools, pottery, coins and other artifacts from these cities. These remains help us understand how people lived, worked and traded. From ancient literature, we got to know about the text, about detailed information, including Vedic text, Buddhist texts such as Tripitaka, which described cities where Buddha taught, Jain text which discussed cities where Mahavira and the Jain leader lived and preached. Here are some examples of ancient religious literature, and if you want to know about the archaeological excavation, any building or any monument, historical monument is archaeological find. Now come to the Janapadas. Janapadas, around the end of second millennium BCE, the beginning of first millennium BCE, people in ancient India started living more settled and organized lives. Instead of constantly moving around, many people began to set up, for example, began to farm, began to live in permanent villages. These groups and clans shared common language, common custom, common beliefs. So, what is Janapada? Janapada means, Jana means people and Pada means foot. So, where the people settled, that is known as Janapada. Janapada were among the earliest political unit in Indian history. They were no longer just group of related people anymore, but were communities living in clearly marked territories with shared culture, early form of government. Each Janapada was typically dominated by the specific tribe or clan that gave the territory its name. For example, Kuru Janapada was the land of Kuru tribe. One of the biggest reasons these Janapadas developed was the success of agriculture, especially in fertile Ganga plains. With more food, larger population could live together and small villages grew into towns and kingdoms. Now we will study about from Janapadas to Mahajanapadas and what is the difference between these two. As you already know, Janapada means where small group of people or village where people settled. But when number of Janapadas come together or number of regions or villages come together, that will form Mahajanapada. As time passed, many Janapadas grew larger and more powerful. This occurred due to population growth, advancement in farming tools, increased trade, constant war between regions. The use of iron tool made both farming and fighting more effective. while growing trade routes brought in wealth and helped Janpadas expand their influence. By around 8th or 7th century BCE, some Janpadas had become so large and powerful that they turned into Mahajanpadas, which means great kingdom. These were much more advanced, with strong armies, well-organized governments, growing cities and prosperous economies. There are 16 important Mahajanpadas, that is very important, 16 important Mahajanpadas mentioned in ancient Buddhist texts that were Anga, Asmaka, Avanti, Chedi, Gandhar, Kamboja, Kashi, Koshala, Kuru, Magad, Mala, Matsya, Panchal, Surasen, Vatsa, Vajji. These are the important 16 Mahajanpadas, but after some period of time, only 4 left as important Mahajanpad in history. Here is the Mahajanpad spread across northern to the central India. Here is the map. You can see the 16 Mahajanpadas on map. Chedi was the capital of Mahajanpada. This shows that Mahajanpadas covered a wide area, were mostly located in fertile, well-connected regions that were ideal for farming, trade and growth of cities. These kingdoms competed with each other for land, for power and for resources. Over time, 4 Mahajanpadas, Avanti, Koshala, Magadha, Vatsa, emerged as the most powerful. Eventually, Magad became the strongest and most dominated Mahajanpad during that period of time. Here are the ruins of complex of Rajgira, the capital of Magad, Mahajanpada. Next is early governance, monarchies versus republics. So what were the monarchies and republics? Mahajanpadas followed 2 main systems. First is monarchies and republics. Most Mahajanpads were monarchies, where a Raja, in monarchy, where a Raja ruled and usually passed his throne to his son. These kings gained power through wars, through religious rituals, through collection of taxes. They had assemblies and councils of elders to help them make decisions. The king was expected to take advice from these assemblies. Some ancient texts even state that assembly could remove a bad ruler, although this might not happen. This is not the common practice. These council or assemblies were called Sabha or Samiti, term that first appeared in Vedas, India's oldest text. Their use of Mahajanpada period shows that Indian political ideas had a long and continuous history. Now a few Mahajanpad follow the different form of government known as Ganasangha or republic. Here, instead of one king, the group of people rule. For example, some even voted to choose their leader. 2 famous republics were Vajji and Mala. These early republics, with their emphasis on assembly-based governance, are considered important early example of non-monarchical or collective rule. So here is the difference: in monarchy, ruler or king rule, but in republic, a group of people rule. Next is Buddha was born into Shakya clan, which followed a republican system. In republican system, the group of people rule. He praised their way of discussing, voting before taking action. The rules for Buddhist monks were also based on similar discussion and group decision making. Next is administration of Mahajanpadas. The Mahajanpadas build strong administrative system. With large territories and growing population, in monarchies, the king was in charge, while in republic, important decisions were made by a group or a leader. Both systems were assisted by the Council of Ministers, which advised on how to govern the state. Now, administrative features. The Mahajanpadas developed organized system of governance to manage their growing territories and population. Most of the monarchies where kings ruled with the help of ministers and elders. Others were republics such as Vajji and Mala, where group of leaders made decisions collectively. So special officials were appointed to look after army, farming, or law and order, trade, religion, tax collection. So for different, you can say different work, different ministers were appointed. These systems help maintain and control, ensure the smooth functioning of the kingdom. So here is the tax collection system. As kingdom expanded, they need of more resources to support the armies, build forts and manage daily affairs. To meet these needs, taxes were collected regularly. So taxes were collected from farmers, from traders, from craft people, herders and forest communities, and in different form. For example, farmers will pay in form of crops, traders will pay in form of goods, or you can say they bought and sold goods. Craft people paid in form of labor or giving finished goods. Herders paid in form of animals or animal product, and forest communities contributed forest produce. Now the use of tax revenue. The tax collected were used for the welfare and the protection of the people. They paid the salaries of officials and soldiers, build roads and canals, irrigation system. That means tax collected from the different people to maintain the law and order, to maintain the army, to maintain the people and their daily lives. Now come to the next topic, innovations during the Mahajanpada period. The Mahajanpada period saw important change in farming, trade, technology and ideas that reshaped Indian society. So here are some innovations. First, iron technology. In iron technology, iron tools such as plough and axes made farming and forest clearing much easier. Then agricultural growth. With better iron tools and improved irrigation, farming became more productive. Then trade and the use of coins. As trade expanded between different regions, punch-marked coins were introduced in India. These coins made buying and selling of goods easier. They helped connect different parts of India through trade. Next was transport and communication. Better roads, bridges, boats were developed during this period. These improvements helped traders, travelers and monks move more easily. Then writings and record keeping. The Brahmi script came into use and one of the easiest writing style in India. It helped to record laws, taxes, trade accounts and religious teachings, making administration more efficient and organized. Next, spread of new ideas and religion. Monks, scholars, pilgrims traveled across regions to spread these teachings. Religious texts such as Upanishad, Tripitakas and Jain Agamas were composed promoting values like non-violence, self-control and wisdom. Next is growth of art and culture, welfare and political changes. Many Mahajanpadas fought with one another to control the land resources and last planned and fortified cities. Mahajanpada's capital Rajgiriha, Kaushambi, Ujjaini were large and well planned and protected by thick walls and moats. Narrow entry gates allowed guard to monitor movement. Within the cities, areas were designated for administration, markets, residence and worship. Next come to the Varna Jati system. As Indian civilization grew more complex, society began to divide into groups based on people's work, custom and family background. Over time, this evolved into twofold system known as Varna Jati system, which shaped life in India for centuries. This system had two main parts. First, Varna Jati. Varna refers to four broad social categories based on duties and occupation as described in the Vedas. Jati referred to smaller groups or communities often linked to specific occupation and custom. So, although related Varnas were larger, and more general, while jatis were more specific and numerous. The exact relationship between varna and jati is complex, but together they formed a social structure that guided a person's occupation, marriage, and social standing. The English word caste comes from Portuguese word casta. Portuguese traveler used it in 16th century to describe Indian society. Some scholars argue that it refers to fourfold varna system, while others believed it better fits the concept of jati. Today, most agree the term caste referred to combine the varna jati structure. Here are the four main varnas: Brahmins, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. On the basis of their occupation, Brahmins were those who were priests, teachers, scholars. They performed religious ceremonies, taught and studied holy books. Kshatriyas were those like warriors, rulers, administrators. They protect the kingdom and fought in war. Vaishyas were the traders and merchants, and Shudras are the laborers and those who provide services to other people, or the provider. Next is Varna system during the Mahajanpada period. As towns and kingdoms grew during the Mahajanpada period, the Varna Jati system became more organized and widespread. People were grouped by traditional roles, and many new Jatis emerged as new occupations developed. While the system helped in organizing society, it also created strict boundaries between the groups. First, Jatis and everyday life. Each Varna included many different Jatis, which were small communities based on occupation and custom. These Jatis followed their own rules for marriage, for food, for dress, and passed down skills within the family. Next, questioning and change. Religions such as Buddhism, Jainism began to question the fairness of dividing people based on birth. They taught that good actions matter more than someone's family background. And last, from flexibility to rigidity. While the Varna Jati system began as a way to organize work and responsibilities, it eventually became rigid. Some communities were treated unequally or excluded from opportunities. In modern India, the constitution guarantees equality and bans caste-based discrimination. However, the legacy of the Varna Jati system still affects the society in some places, making it difficult to realize the ideal of equality. Now, the next topic is developments elsewhere in India. While the Mahajanpads were emerged in Indo-Gangetic plains, other regions of India were also undergoing significant changes. New kingdoms, growing cities, and improved networks of roads and trade routes connected different parts of the subcontinent. These developments helped unify India through commerce, culture, and communication, even as local tradition continued to thrive. Now come to the topic long-distance routes, Uttar Path and Dakshin Path. Uttar Path, northern road; Dakshin Path, southern road, linked distant part of the subcontinent. Uttar Path connected key cities like Takshila, Mathura, Varanasi, Patliputra. It was used for trade, travel, and the spread of religions like Buddhism and Jainism. Great empires such as the Mauryas and Kushanas maintained this route to transport goods, armies and officials. Much of today's Grand Trunk Road follows this ancient path. Here are the important cities: Uttar Path in purple and Dakshin Path. Here you can see in yellow. Then the Dakshin Path. Dakshin Path means southern roads connected to north with the southern peninsula, passing through Ujjain and reaching coastal towns and ports. It helped transport southern goods such as spices, gems, and golds to the north and beyond. It also carried ideas, religious beliefs, cultural tradition across regions, creating deep connection between the diverse parts of India. Now come to the rise of cities. The Mahajanpads period were a clear shift from the rural settlement to urban settlement. These cities became capitals, markets and cultural hubs. One remarkable example is Shishupalgarh. It is in present-day Orissa, which was the capital of powerful Kalinga kingdom. Kalinga was well known for its wealth, skilled artisans and strong military. The city was carefully planned with fortified walls and gates, showing the high level of architectural and administrative development during this period. Now, growth of Southern Kingdom. While northern India had already witnessed the rise of kingdoms, southern India began to develop strong regional powers around 400 BC. This marked the beginning of independent political and cultural growth in south. Three major kingdoms, Cholas, Cheras and Pandyas, emerged and played an important role in shaping history of this region. Now, a more connected subcontinent. By around 300 to 200 BCE, the entire Indian subcontinent from the Himalayan to the southern coast and from the northwest to northeast was connected through trade, travel and communication. Goods, ideas, religions, technologies moved more freely. This created a strong sense of cultural unity while allowing local traditions to continue. As these networks expand, the older Mahajanpadas declined and giving rise to powerful empires such as Mauryas, Nandas and many more that would transform India's political and cultural landscape. In this chapter, we had discussed about the second urbanization. Second urbanization in which we discussed Janpadas, Mahajanpadas, their administration, their key features, and after that Uttarpad and Dakshinpad and many more developments in Mahajanpadas. That's all for today. See you in the next lecture. Goodbye. Take care.